Everybody has a gut feeling about who is going to win this World Cup. Your mate down the pub has one. So does every pundit on television. But none of that is worth anything. So let's ignore all of it and ask a colder question. What do the actual numbers say? Because before a single ball was kicked in 2026, a supercomputer played this entire World Cup. Not once, but 25,000 times. Bookmakers have staked millions of dollars of real money on the outcome. Between them, the machines and the markets have a very specific opinion on who lifts the trophy. And it might not be who you think. So here is who the numbers say wins the 2026 World Cup, and the big reason they could all be dead wrong. Let's start with the supercomputer. The Opta model took every team, every player, every ranking, and simulated the whole tournament 25,000 times over, and then counted how often each nation ended up holding the trophy. And its number one pick before the tournament was Spain. Spain came out as champions in just over 16% of those 25,000 simulations, the most of anyone. Behind them, a tight chasing pack. France at around 13%, England at just over 11%, and the reigning champions, Argentina, at roughly 10.5%. Then a gap, and Brazil sitting around 6.5%. Now, 16% does not sound like much, and that is the first thing the numbers are screaming at you. Even the single most likely team on Earth, according to the machine, only wins this thing about one time in 6. There is no runaway favorite. With 48 teams and a bigger, longer, more chaotic tournament than ever before, the computer is basically telling us, it is wide open, and anyone in that top group has a real shot. But here is where it gets interesting, because those were the numbers before the football started, and it took about a week for the tournament to start tearing them up. Spain, the machine's golden pick, came out and drew 0-0 with Cape Verde, a tiny island nation, at their first ever World Cup. Just like that, the favorite looked human, and the bookmakers' odds on Spain drifted out. Meanwhile, France went the other way. They put 3 past Senegal in a statement win and surged straight to the top of the betting, overtaking Spain as the new favorite. England, Argentina, Germany, all jockeying right behind. So in 7 days, the picture flipped. The pre-tournament computer said Spain, but the live money now leans France. And that tells you something important about every prediction in this video. They are not fixed. One result, one injury, one penalty shootout, and the whole board reshuffles. The numbers are a snapshot, not a prophecy. So let's actually go through the genuine contenders and the case for each. Spain, still the model's darling, and for good reason. The deepest, most controlled, most technically gifted side in the world. A golden generation that already knows how to win. The slow start does not change the talent. If they click, nobody keeps the ball off them. France, the new favorite and maybe the scariest. Ridiculous strength and depth, big game experience, and they look in form right now. France do not need to play beautifully. They just keep arriving in finals. England, forever the team that looks unbelievable on paper, loaded with talent, top 3 in every model, and forever carrying the question that has followed them for 60 years. When the pressure is at its absolute highest, do they deliver or do they freeze? The numbers love them. History is less sure. Argentina, the reigning champions, around 10% on the machine. But if you ask former players and most fans, this is the team of the heart. Because of one man. Messi, in his last World Cup, who opened this tournament with a hat trick. The computer rates them 4th. Romance rates them 1st. Brazil, only 6.5%. Low for the most successful nation in World Cup history. They have stuttered, they have got a curse to break, and they have not truly convinced in years. But it is Brazil. You write them off at your peril. And then, the wild cards. Germany, who announced themselves by smashing 7 goals past Curaçao. And the hosts, the United States, whose odds have shot up after winning, riding a home crowd that no algorithm can fully measure. But here is the reason to take every single one of these numbers with a fistful of salt. Because the World Cup has a long, brutal history of humiliating the favorites. A supercomputer is brilliant at the things you can measure: quality, form, rankings. It is hopeless at the things you cannot. It cannot simulate a goalkeeper having the game of his life. It cannot model a red card in the 90th minute, a freak deflection, the weight of a nation's expectation crushing the best team in the tournament. And this World Cup is the most chaos-friendly ever built. 48 teams, more games, more travel, more heat, more chances for a giant to slip up. We have already watched Spain hand a point to Cape Verde. The machine gave that almost no chance, and it happened anyway. The favorite, the one the numbers love, has been knocked out early so many times that the favorites are crumbling is practically a World Cup tradition. So when the model says 16%, remember the flip side. It is also saying there is an 84% chance the favorite does not win. The numbers do not promise you a champion. They just tell you where to point, and then the football does whatever it wants. So, who wins the 2026 World Cup? The supercomputer says Spain. The live money now says France. The cold logic says one of Spain, France, England, or Argentina. That top group has won it in well over half of all the simulations combined. And the heart, of course, says Messi and Argentina, riding off into the perfect ending. But the only honest answer is the one no model will ever give you. Nobody knows. That is the entire point. You can run this tournament 25,000 times in a machine, and it still has to be played once. For real. With everything on the line. And that one time is exactly where the impossible keeps happening. The numbers have pointed. Now we find out if the football is listening. My money is on chaos. What's yours?